Hi everyone, welcome to the 75th episode of the Zicast. As always, I'm your host Ryan Zacks, and today I'm joined by Film Theorist Josh Brazinski.
Film Theorist. That's what a title. What a title.
I knew it would be like super flattering for you.
Yeah.
But you're also a filmmaker, you're a ton of other things, and I'm excited to unpack that. But I also want to shout out episode 31 guest Liam Chen for technical directing once again. So Josh, you know what the Zicast is. I interview people, get to know them better, and I'm excited to get to hear your story. So how about you tell us a bit about yourself?
Sure, absolutely. First, this camera right here.
Yes.
Mom, I made it. I'm on the Zicast finally. This is a pivotal moment for me in my filmmaking career. I'm excited. So yeah, I'm a film, TV, and media major, 3+1 BFA. I've been into film and filmmaking and watching film ever since I was a wee lad, young boy. It's pretty much all I've wanted to do with my life. I mean, that's how you know that you want to be a filmmaker when you can't really see yourself doing anything else with your life. It's my meditation. It's what makes me who I am. I've been into it for as long as I can remember.
Awesome. And where are you from?
I'm from a small town, Westford, Massachusetts.
Okay.
Not a lot of people know it. It's everyone. It's in a way, it's topographically where everyone lives in Massachusetts. 45 minutes out of Boston. Like that sort of thing.
Yeah, because it's always like when people are from Massachusetts, it's always like relative to Boston.
Yeah,
where
right.
they live.
Yeah, exactly.
And you bring up like liking film since you were a wee lad. Let's get into that. And how about you tell us where your passion for film stems from?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, I've always been watching movies like ever since I was a young kid. I often joke about like my passion for film really started when I first saw Shrek for the first time. I have a DVD copy of the movie at home still, and there are literal teething marks in the box. Like I teethed on it because I had it ever since I was so young. So I grew up watching that, and I just developed an affinity for cinema like from there. Which I mean, in a joking fashion, like from Shrek. I mean, that sounds kind of goofy and ridiculous, but like it made me realize what I wanted to do. And I watched a lot of like DreamWorks animated movies and Disney movies when I was a young kid, and then eventually, I think really when I watched Pulp Fiction for the first time, everyone has that one movie that always sets them on their path.
Yeah.
And I guess it's a little embarrassing and somewhat pretentious to say that Pulp Fiction was the first one for me, because it's like, that's the film bro movie, but it really was like watching a movie like that, like, oh my god, like I didn't know you could make films and tell stories in this way, completely blew me away.
Yeah.
And kind of just the more and more I started to watch movies, the more and more I realized how transformative and unique the medium was, and how many different ways you could tell a narrative.
Yeah.
Yeah,
especially with Pulp Fiction, because it tells narratives like has all these different narratives, and they all kind of interweave, which set up Tarantino for the rest of his career. And Shrek, obviously, you loved it as a kid. It's a kid's movie. Do you think there's anything more to it that really drew you to Shrek?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, really what captivated me so much about Shrek, I mean, it was just how different the movie was. I mean, of course I didn't really know how it, I mean, when I'm like 3 years old watching Shrek, I mean, I'm just enjoying it for like the fun, like rambunctious nature of the character, the high energy scenes and the incredible, the powerful score. I still listen to it. It's great. There's so many elements that make that movie so amazing. I actually pre-gamed. I watched Shrek last night, so get ready for this interview. But it's a fantastic film. But I mean, really, what drew me into to filmmaking so much in relation to Shrek was when I first watched it as a kid. I was just introduced to it. It was my parents bought the movie, gave it to me, and I watched it. But as I aged, I started to identify more and more with Shrek as a character. It's like I started to realize how cinema really speaks to me as an individual. It's like these movies, in a way, become a part of who I am. Like it's a part of, like the film is a part of my identity because it's been in my life. Like it's been a part of me throughout my entire life. But I also identify a lot with Shrek, like being judged before people really get to know you. I mean, that's something anyone can relate to.
Yeah. I was gonna say just like growing up and just getting like angry about shit. Like I feel like that's what Shrek, or just being
absolutely.
grumpy. I should
Yeah.
say grumpy about shit.
Yeah, wanting to wall yourself off. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's totally relatable, you know?
Yeah, Shrek, and kind of like what Smash Mouth said, the years start coming and they don't start coming. Like I feel like that just follows you through the years, and then as you found yourself in the industry, I've seen you work on a bunch of different projects in different roles. So like, what role do you think you will fill in the film industry?
You know, that's a tough question there, Ryan. That's a really tough one. I mean, you know, realistically, I could see myself doing pretty much anything in the film industry. Like, I would love to be involved. I would love to be much more involved in a theoretical part of the practice, I guess. You know, so really directing or writing. I would love to do editing. You know, something that involved in the production that is involved with the creative aspect of it. I mean, really, anyone who's in the film industry, I think, has some sort of pull to that, right? But realistically, I could see myself doing anything, you know, even if I fall into a job that isn't even related to production, if it's just, again, theory, you know, being seen as a film theorist, that would be really cool. I would love having a position like that where I just get to talk about films and dissect them and talk about what makes them so important. Important to me or to the world of cinema in general.
Yeah, so I could see you being a very good professor.
I would love to be. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like if the film world doesn't work out for me, like if production doesn't work out, if I could be a professor, oh my God, that would be great.
And even if it does, that's still something you could do. Like seeing, like, for example, like we have Professor Fritz Stoudemire for our screenwriting class, and he's like been in Hollywood and been working as a screenwriter, and it's very interesting to see like these professors with like real experience in these industries come to Quinnipiac and then teach us. Like, do you think? I know you said you would be interested in being a professor. What also interests you about film theory?
Well, I feel like, you know, what makes a person a good critic, right? What makes them a viable critic? I feel like in a way it's trying to understand and unpack the intentions of the filmmaker, and seeing how effectively they convey their perspectives and ideas. And that's what's so captivating to me when you try to unpack the mind of the filmmaker versus the mind of the audience, right? Because I mean, cinema is a form of expression, and it's such a wildly unique form of expression, right? It's communicating feelings without words.
Yeah.
And when you view cinema in that way, and your relation to it as an audience member and as a critic, it puts things into perspective where you try to, when you're analyzing the intentions of the filmmaker, and your experiences as an individual, right? And how those two relate. And I think being able to unpack that and, in a way, being able to transport yourself back to different time periods when you're watching older movies, you get to see how the world worked and how people thought in a different time period and how universal some emotions still are, right? And how the staying power of them, right? Some people still, you know, there's a rage that some people still have. Like you watch a movie like Battleship Potemkin, and you still feel this rage that people have towards you know, tyrannical reign. I mean, obviously that's not going to go away. Yeah. But you see something like that, and it's like I can still feel that today. You know, these emotions have that sort of staying power, and that's powerful. Yeah. I feel like exploring cinema in that regard and being able to dissect it and being able to communicate how important that is to other people, I think that is important to me.
Yeah, and the ways film reflects society and where society's at, and even the way that they're made, where films in the past used to be more dialogue heavy and now they're less because it's being kind of sold to wider audiences who might not be able to speak the language that's being spoken in the film. And what other things do you notice about films kind of differing over the passage of time?
I mean, there's really a lot. I mean, I feel like a big element of what we see differing. I mean, of course, film styles, and genres. I guess how certain elements of who we are unpacked, right? I mean, I feel like the screwball comedy, I feel like, is a big one. I love that genre. I feel like, it used to be so much more popular back in the day, back in like the 30s, 40s, 50s. We don't really see it anymore. I mean, there are still some films that tend to explore it, like Hitman. Which, you saw that at Sundance, right?
I did.
Yeah.
I was there.
I was
captivated.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. It's a great film. Movies like Anora, too. I mean, Anora is also kind of like a bit of the screwball comedy. Being able to watch movies like those and then seeing new films that also like take heavy inspiration from these older movies, it's like almost in a way like bringing you back to the roots of cinema.
Yeah.
I feel like being able to acknowledge and recognize that kind of makes some modern movies more powerful, I guess.
Yeah.
In a way.
Interesting. And we kind of get those kinds of movies, like you mentioned Hitman, at Sundance, which you and I have been to in the past now a couple of times. Do you mind telling us a bit about your experience going to the Sundance Film Festival?
It's a great experience.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely fantastic. I mean, I'm the next QFS president. I'm gonna have to plan. I'm gonna have to plan the actual Sundance trip next year. I don't know if I do know I'm equipped for it, but it's like, it's a lot to.
It's
to
lofty.
About.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. It's a whirlwind of emotions and feelings like going on that trip. I mean, being able to just like having your feet on the ground and just thinking like I'm in it, like I'm surrounded by industry. I'm surrounded by so much talent. Like it's overwhelming, being in an environment like that. But it's infectious. You get so caught up with it. Like sleep becomes it doesn't matter. Like sleep is like, I'm putting it in the back seat.
Yeah.
At that point, I mean, my roommate Harry, like he doesn't need sleep anyway, but it's like it's like, oh my God, like I don't know. How many movies did he do this year?
Yeah, he went off the walls for it. He went hard.
He did like 18.
Yeah.
Like when we were actually there, I'm like, dude, we've been here for like a week, like not even 5 days. Like how you do that many? But I mean, like that's the power of cinema. Like it gets you up in the morning. It gets you up in the morning and gets you raring to go. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If you got movies to watch, you got to do it.
Exactly. And you have to make movies, you got to do it.
And you got to do it.
And that's a great perspective, because I've never functioned better on like 4 hours of sleep than at Sundance.
Yeah, right.
Because it's just like, or function and then like had to do a ton on 4 hours of sleep. And you knew I had to shoehorn the Sundance question in here somehow.
Absolutely, yeah.
But it also brings us to you now as the Quinnipiac Film Society president. So do you mind telling us kind of your emotions of that and kind of what that means to you?
I'm gonna be a little honest. It's kind of scary. I mean, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be in a position where I'm able to connect with and hopefully work with these incoming freshmen, like their perspectives and their passions for cinema. I want to kind of cultivate that, right? I want to give them a similar experience that I had in my freshman year, because like we had the great Ari Menez as our president. I look up to that guy. I love him, and I'm hoping to kind of capture a similar. I'm hoping to capture a similar energy that he did.
Yeah.
And connect with people on a similar level that he did as a president. Same thing with Michael Rada. I mean, he's absolutely incredible as a president. But being put in a leadership position like that and being able to empower individuals who want to see their voices on the screen, and want to see themselves on the screen, and their identities, right? And being able to communicate and talk about that, I think that's incredibly important. I want to work with these incoming freshmen, to help them kind of see themselves. If that makes sense. Exactly,
yeah, and kind of building up like the community, because Film Society, it's really a community. I mean, we live in a society. But it's a kind of about the community, and I'm very happy that your perspective is just like build that community up. That's really what it's all about. And it just randomly reminds me of the first time we met, which was when we watched one of your short films where you recreated the scene from the Batman, where Batman and Riddler, like when Riddler's in Arkham and Batman's like, I forgot what it was about the bomb.
I
forgot what he was saying.
What have you done?
What have you done? Oh, baby. And you were Batman, and I think you were like sitting behind me, and I just turned around and I'm like, oh my God, it's Batman. And that was our first ever interaction. And then we did some and then another day, I think I said I drive, like the Ryan Gosling bit, and you behind me just said I drive, and then we just had an I drive competition.
I drive
until Poppin stole the stop. And that was our second interaction. So it's cool to like you mentioned, like first years coming in or freshmen coming in, and that you want to give them that experience of like seeing themselves on the screen and whatnot. And I could always kind of tell at some point you're going to be QFS president, just because of your passion for the club and your involvement and everything. I could like see it in my head. I could see the future, and I'm so excited to see what you'll end up doing with the club. And you bring up people seeing their work on the screen. You've been able to work on a ton of things here at Quinnipiac. So you don't mind us telling us about projects you've worked on here or even outside of the school?
Yeah, sure. I mean, man, I love, again, like what you said, like with Sundance, it's like you're waking up at like you can function on 4 hours of sleep because your passion's that strong, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same way with working on a film set. I mean, it's like you just go. It doesn't matter. Like, you might get tired, but like that passion, that drive to get a production done, it's just, you feel it. And Liam, I'm sure, you just worked on your capstone. I'm sure you feel the same way. It's like you got to get it done. And so I guess one of the earliest times that I really felt that here at QU was when I did the 24-hour film challenge with my buddy Jack Igo.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what an amazing experience. I mean, I've never worked so effectively on 0 hours of sleep. So efficiently. I mean, I remember just it's exciting. It's infectious when you're working on a film or a project in that capacity, and you're running on we got no time. We need to capture as much footage as we can possibly get. We have to write this as quickly as possible, and then you're shooting something, and something just clicks, something works, and you're like, this is awesome. This is so sick. I remember I shot that with with my current roommate Brian. He's my roommate now. Yeah, and he was our lead protagonist in the film. And we had a moment where he sat down in a chair. We set up these a 2-point lighting setup. And we had him standing in front of a whiteboard at one point, and he steps away from the light and kind of into the darkness. And when we were in the editing room, I just lowered the blacks on one shot, made it as dark as possible, heightened the shadows, and he basically becomes a silhouette in the foreground. And when we were working on that, Jack and I were going crazy. We were like, this is so cool. It's amazing that we get to create imagery like this, you know? And it's it's not like Citizen Kane or High or anything like that. I'm not trying to oversell it in a way where it's we're geniuses, but it's when you're making something and you just feel like, oh my God, we've created something that looks this good. It's like seeing your artistic passion and prowess come out on the screen when you're editing or when you're shooting. That's just incredible. See, a couple of other projects that I've worked on. I directed the fall production.
Yes.
For QFS. Long process, but very fun. You know, I mean, I wouldn't pass that out. You're directing the spring production.
I am.
Yeah,
I'm hyped.
Good for you, man. I'm excited. I want to get a job on that set just so I could see you direct, because I'd love to be involved. But I mean, it's an incredible feeling. And it's an incredible opportunity as a filmmaker, being able, you literally just get a crew. Yeah. That's crazy. You get an opportunity to direct and work on a film where you get a crew. I mean, where else do you get that opportunity? Yeah. You know? And everyone's there for the same reason. Everyone's equally as passionate about this medium as you are, right? That's why everyone's working on it. So, I mean, getting an opportunity like that to just get a crew and work on something, and it's long. It's I think we had 2 shooting days from the fall production. It was about 8-hour shooting days. But we structured, we figured out everything. We structured everything. I had Jacob Layton as my AD, and he was making sure that we were getting through stuff. Presley Schmidt as my DP. Oh my God, so talented, incredible. I mean, being surrounded by talent in that way too. It's everyone here is equally as passionate, and they're very capable people, all working on this production. It's wow, this is you could see these people have that potential, that filmmaking potential, and being able to surround yourself in talent like that and work off of people where it just feels supernatural. I mean, it's a cadence. You ever see the movie Soul?
I love Soul.
Soul's great, right? Yeah, it's a great movie. But that scene when you got the guys playing the piano, and it's everything goes dark around him. He's in his moment. Yes, that's what filmmaking's like for me. And when I'm in a moment like that, it's there's nothing else I want to do with my life. It's moments like that when you feel that way, where you're confident that this is what I want to do. Goosebumps. It's a great feeling. Sorry, I'm talking with my hands a lot.
Oh, please do.
Yeah, I'm Italian, so
Oh, no, I totally get what you
Yeah.
mean. And no, like the passion really shows in everything you're saying, and of course, the movie came out excellent. And I'm curious more about the day-to-day process of shooting that. Like, thankfully, it was one location, which kind of makes things more efficient because you have to keep moving around, makes it more difficult. Like, what was it like kind of being there with the big crew, like you noted, with your ADs, your cinematographers, etc.?
So again, Presley and I did a bit of pre-production. We got a shot list. We outlined everything, and the two of us figured out everything that we wanted to see on the actual production. So I felt like when we actually planned for the production in that way, we were able to breeze through things like relatively quickly. Of course, problems did arise. I mean, they're going to on a set. You ever see the movie Living in Oblivion?
I have not, no.
Hard recommend. Very good. Steve Buscemi's in it.
Okay.
Basically, like, whatever could go wrong in a film set does end up going wrong.
Like the Murphy's Law.
Yeah. Whatever could go wrong does. So you got to be prepared for that on a film set, right? I mean, that's bound to happen. But I mean, you got to keep a cool head, right? Just constantly be thinking like things are going to work out. We're gonna figure something out. We're gonna find a fix to the problem in some capacity, as long as we keep working on it, and just got to keep pushing forward, right?
Yeah.
And we had some problems with our mix pre. I remember at one point, kind of slowed down production a bit. But I mean, again, that's to be expected. You just got to keep moving forward. And it was a very successful shoot. I think we had a ton of fun. I think everyone's spirits stayed high, which I wanted to make sure that happens. That's a great feeling as a director when someone can look at you and say, "I haven't felt the time go by at all." Like, it went by like that. That's a great feeling as a director and filmmaker. Just trying to keep everyone in high spirits, and I think we did that, and we ended up making something that I genuinely do feel very proud of.
Yeah, because that's another thing with directing. It's a leadership role, and it's also with leadership, it's people skills and working with people and keeping the vibes good. And that's a great point you made about time, because sometimes, like, you're just on film sets, and it's like, oh, we've been here for 6 hours. And you don't, like you said, sometimes you don't realize it because things are just flowing so smoothly. And getting that experience as a director while you're in school on a production that big is so vital. But I remember hearing you once talking about being a PA on a project in New York, if I'm not mistaken. Do you mind telling us about that?
Yeah, sure. So I PA'd on a feature in New York. I was there for about 2 weeks. My cousin is actually an AD. He's in the film industry, and he typically ADs, but he was producing a film with his girlfriend. She read the script, and she did some revisions on the script and was like, "I want to produce this." So my cousin was like, "All right, yeah, I'll throw some money and I'll produce it with you."
Awesome.
And he reached out to me and he was like, "Hey, what are you doing for the summer? You want to come out and PA on this project?" And I was like, hell yeah! Like, why would I? Yeah, like, you don't just get opportunities like that.
Yeah.
So it was great. I have another cousin, his sister, who lives in New York as well, and she let me stay with her. So I bunked in her flat, and then I would just walk over to set. We were shooting outside of my cousin's apartment. Actually both my cousin's apartments. We shot outside of both of them, all throughout New York City. We went to Manhattan at one point, shot some stuff there. Most of the film was shot in Brooklyn. And we would like go down like different blocks and streets, and sometimes we would just shoot on the street. It was a very small crew for it was a very small crew for a film production, like a feature production.
Yeah.
And again, like a 2-week shooting period. Like there were two different. I remember there were two different like what's the word I'm looking for? Sets of shooting days. I should say. And I only shot for one of them, so the film was actually shot across like I think maybe a total of 14 days.
Yeah.
And I was there for probably like 9 of them, if I had to guess, like nine actual shooting days. But I stayed in the city for about 2 weeks. Those are grueling days.
Yeah.
It was in the middle of the summer, so it's hot. And I remember having to like leave set, pick stuff up for the cast and the crew. Like whenever someone needed something, like I was out, I was going, I was picking stuff up and bringing it back. It's grueling, but again, like being able to be in a position like that where it's so new, like I was kind of able to, I kept my spirits high, and I was so happy to have that opportunity where I could just be on a set and see what it's like to be on a real film set.
Yeah.
You got actual SAG actors, you got like actual people who are working in the industry, and you're like, this is so cool, I would work like 8 to 12 hour days. Like they were rough. Like I remember like I would come home and I would literally look into the mirror and I could see myself like physically losing weight. Like I was eating on set. Like I would eat like on a normal day, but I would walk like 32,000 steps in a day.
Yeah.
Like I just go. Like no moment to stop. It would just be constant movement. And of course, I'm probably losing a ton of water from sweating so much because I'm just
it's so hot.
it's so hot and I'm moving all over the place. Really, the job as a PA, you're getting all the jobs that no one else wants to do.
Yeah.
But just again, having that privilege of being on an actual functioning set and being able to see people work, and like that enough is fulfillment. Like even in a moment like that where I'm doing the lowest of the low job on a film set, where you still feel like you're needed for the film set. Like no job is too small, but being able to be on a film set like that and doing like the lowest of the low job and thinking like this is still what I want to do with my life.
Yeah.
Like that's a great feeling.
Yeah.
Like just giving you that feeling of affirmation where it's like I still want to do this. It's still infectious.
Yeah, and you get to see this production, and of course it's something you can put on your resume. It's something like anybody else involved on it. Hey, Josh did a good job. Let me call him up for this role, and then eventually it's just up that ladder. And do you mind telling us like what's the film called, if you can disclose that at all?
I don't know. I don't know if I can.
Okay.
I probably can. It's called Almost Grace.
Okay.
I don't know when it's going to be released, but my name is in the credits.
That's
so,
sick.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, like this will be releasing during the summer, so I don't know if it'll be out by then. But
I don't know. I got no idea. I think they're in post production right now. So
Okay.
The actual production of the film finished shooting. So
awesome.
Yeah.
That'll be happy to see. And the fact you got to work in the city, which for a film obviously is big. Like there's a chance you could end up there. Like how was that experience? Like working in New York?
It was great. Like I came to QU thinking like I wasn't ready for I wasn't ready for like a city campus. I kind of wanted something a little bit more closed off and reserved. Still, being able to access film equipment and producing things that I want to produce. And I think I got that out of coming here to QU, and being able to I'm so glad that I did come here because I got to meet so much talent. Like I mean, surrounded by all of these people who are incredibly capable and passionate about filmmaking. Like for example, I mean, I'm on the Zicast right now. Like this is awesome. But like Ari and Julia Morley Schnar. I mean, my God, she's amazing. Jose.
Yeah.
Like that guy's insane. You know what I mean? But being able like to be in the city, it's like I kind of got a little bit more used to it. It's like if I had to live here, I could.
Yeah.
Is the sort of thing. Like I grew up in like again Westford, Massachusetts, like the suburbs. Like not really near any like film. It's not like the ideal film production location. I should say it's not like deep in the city, not even remotely close. So like being able to actually be there in the city, it's like I could do this. Yeah,
and that's great to know, especially as we move forward. It's like you never know if it'll be New York or LA, because I know you have an interest in the Q and LA program, so you never know where that'll come up. And I cooked up a question that I knew would be perfect for you, which is if somebody could watch, if there was one movie you think that everybody should watch at least once in their life, what would it be?
That's a great question. I saw that one on the doc, and it kind of got me thinking. I kind of wanted to go into a bit of a side tangent related to that, if that's okay.
That's fine.
All right, yeah. So, the more and more I've been thinking about movies that I've been watching and the importance of cinema, I think that every single person, like every person that I've talked to on this campus, has a different perspective on the world of cinema and how cinema has shaped their own lives and how they relate to it. And I feel like asking that question where it's like, if there's one film that everyone should watch, I mean, everyone's going to experience cinema in a different way. Everyone's going to have a different interpretation of what the most important movie of all time is. So it's kind of tough to answer that question. In fact, in a way, I don't really know if I can. I think I wouldn't give someone like a list of movies. Like in the past, I absolutely would, but I don't know if I could be in a position to give someone a list of movies and say, watch all of these. You need to watch these because these are the like X, Y, and Z. These are the most important films in the world of like in cinematic history. I don't think I could do that. Because I mean, in that way, you're just kind of, I mean, resorting a film to a number, I guess, in a way. It's like on a list. I think it's important to shape your own perspectives on cinema and find your own tastes in the films that you're watching. And of course, you could watch historically significant films to discover that. I mean, that's kind of what I did, and during COVID, I got through the entirety of the IMDb Top 250, and I feel like that did shape my own tastes as a film enjoyer. But, I had a conversation with a freshman recently who was saying, like, I got to watch more movies. I got to watch, like, more of the big ones, like Forrest Gump and Fight Club and all of those movies that everyone has seen. And I was like, yeah, they're important to watch, but if they don't speak to you, then don't make it a chore. You know what I mean? Because in a way, you're kind of losing the plot of your own passion that way. It's important to watch movies that speak to you. So then that way you can discover your own voice and flesh out your own voice so you can speak to others. I think that's very important for so in a way, yeah, I don't think there's like one specific movie that I would recommend to anyone. With that said, Seven Samurai is amazing and everyone should watch that.
Okay, maybe I didn't cook,
yeah,
but it led to that very, very well thought out response as to how different people have different tastes and how everyone's answers to that is or will be different based upon their own tastes and essentially to find your own taste. So we got that well thought out answer. So I got something out of that.
I think you cooked with that question. I think that's important. Sorry if I'm rambling a lot, by the way. I'm running on 400 milligrams of caffeine because Harry and I were up talking about Deadpool and Wolverine at like 4 a.m. last night. So
what was the discussion? Or what was
Deadpool and Wolverine?
Yeah.
Well, we were talking about, it's kind of funny. We were kind of talking about if whether or not Deadpool and Wolverine was like a shallow film, I guess I should say. In my perspective, it kind of is in regards to its fan service. We don't have to get into the MCU. That's not something I particularly want to talk about. I talk about that enough with QFS and Harry. So
yeah,
I'd rather talk about, am I allowed to ask you a question?
You can ask me a question, of course.
All right, awesome. How do you as an individual relate to cinema, I guess I should say?
That's a fantastic one. I feel like cinema's everything. Cinema's life, and the ways that it's like you mentioned, speaks to people, speaks to me, and it's really just a vessel to express yourself and to tell stories kind of that you can't do in real life, but also reflecting real life. If that doesn't, maybe that sounds like an oxymoron.
No, absolutely. I totally get what you're saying.
But in a way, it's like you could create something. You could create something that you just like. You can't do in real life. I think that's something that's really incredible about cinema. You can express yourself, and you can work, kind of like you mentioned, with different people who are all talented in their own rights, and you could create this great network. So that's kind of what cinema means to me. It's creating a fantasy that also is real.
That's a great answer.
Okay.
That's a really good answer.
Okay.
I like that. A fantasy that's also real. I think that's a poignant response, and I think that in regards to how we create and how we consume cinema, right? Or I guess maybe not consume. I guess that's not really the right word to use. How we create and how we connect with cinema. I mean, the smallest decisions within the creative process that a filmmaker can make. Can so brilliantly convey an emotion. Like, again, the cinematic process, the filmmaking process, every single creative decision that goes into it can express something unique about the minds behind the camera. And I think that's really important, especially if someone empathizes with the film that you're creating or relates to the film that you're creating, because in a way you're creating a connection. You're creating a connection between the filmmaker and the audience. And when you lose yourself in a film like that, when you relate so heavily to something that's going on screen, that's extremely rare. And that's a magical feeling when you're watching a character on screen and saying, I felt that way before.
Yeah.
I don't know how to use the words to express it, but I felt that way before, you know? And I kind of want to use my abilities as a filmmaker. I'm hoping to use my abilities as a filmmaker to kind of create that experience for other people. I mean, you know, cinema is my meditation. Watching movies is my meditation. And being able to connect with films on that deep personal level, I'm hoping I can use every single film that I've seen as basically like a resource to reflect on, so I can do that myself.
Yeah. And film, it's saying things that sometimes you can't always say in real life, so to speak, or convey things you can't always convey in real life. Like I would say music accomplishes that too.
Oh, absolutely.
But of course, movies kind of as the overarching art form, because it has every other art form infused into it. You can do that. And I was thinking about what I said about like the fantasy that's real. It's kind of like, to kind of elaborate on that, it's like fantasy with real emotions. So there's always like the story within the story, where it's like, you know, like Shrek, it's, you know, this like kind of riff on fairy tales, but it's also about, you know, Shrek trying to belong and find his own happily ever after. And like what you said, you're literally Shrek.
Right, yeah.
So it kind of, in that sense, it's like this literal fantasy, because that's what Shrek's about, but there's those real emotions within it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, you know, in a way, it's kind of interesting when you watch Shrek as a movie, because it's like, you wouldn't really get that if you'd never seen the film before. That's not at all what you're expecting to see.
Yeah.
You know, I watched it with my girlfriend, actually, and she had never seen Shrek before. And she was like, this is not what I was expecting. And it's like, yeah, I mean, you wouldn't expect it because I guess the culture that surrounds Shrek in the modern day, I mean, people have kind of reduced him to a joke.
Yeah.
But I mean, when you watch the original movie, it's satirizing these fairy tale characters.
Yeah.
It's almost like a middle finger to Disney in a way.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But at the same time, you're taking Shrek, who's this person that everyone jokes about and memes about, and is like, yeah, he's stupid, he's dumb. But it's like, in a way, they're kind of judging Shrek in the same way that he's expressing that people are judging him as. You know, they judge him before they even know him. He says that line: "They judge me before they even know me." And that's really cool that like a film is able to acknowledge itself on a level that meta, like that aware of what it's trying to say. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. And the ways it references pop culture and movies too from that time.
Yeah.
And to kind of bring it all together. And you talk about people not getting to know Shrek. Let's get to know you.
Oh, okay.
And how about you tell us some things people might not know about you, like fun facts?
Okay. Well, let's see. Here's a fun one. This is one that I like surprising people with sometimes, because I don't really talk about it that often. I'm a second-degree black belt in Taekwondo. I don't think people really know that about me. It's not something I really talk about like ever. But I've been doing martial arts for, let's see, I was about 7 years old, so I'm 20 now, so 13 years. I've been doing Taekwondo for about 13 years. So I teach it sometimes, like during summers. That's my summer job. I teach kids martial arts.
Wow.
I was a swimmer in high school. I got my varsity letter.
Oh, wow.
That's something I never really talk about. That was in my freshman year, and then COVID happened, and then I ended up falling out of it. But I ended up getting my varsity letter right before I quit. Let's see. I started a film club at my high school, like a movie making club. So keeping my fingers crossed that I actually I have the abilities to lead QFS, is what I'm saying. Like I've done something to a similar effect. I've held like mini film festivals and screenings in my high school, and of course not to like the same effect or capacity as QFS. I mean, QFS is massive in comparison to the small film club that I ran in high school, and it was really just like a way for my friends and I to just kind of hang out, and socialize about cinema and movies.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, exactly. It's foreshadowing, right? Yeah. I took a lot of film classes in high school. I had a senior capstone in my high school experience. Instead of like my capstone was separated by or not capstone, sorry. My school, like each semester, we didn't have semesters, we had quarters.
Okay.
So it was like a quarter.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'd have classes that would only go for like a quarter instead of like a trimester.
Okay.
So it was like separated quarterly. And my last quarter in my senior year was my capstone. So I didn't really go to classes other than my one AP class that I had. I took AP Psych. My one... Sorry, I'm totally rambling here.
No, it's
I'm
interesting.
having like a brain fart. Sorry about that. But yeah, I had a senior capstone. And for my senior capstone, you had the opportunity to, I guess, like... you could do like a community service or like an internship sort of opportunity like that. But I wanted to make a movie.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, they didn't really, my school didn't really support a lot of like artistic endeavors.
Yeah.
If people kind of wanted to pursue that, you know, typically a lot of people would just kind of opt for like, I'm going to go internship at like, you know, a golf course or something like that. And just drive golf carts around and, you know, do whatever. But I wanted to do something that I felt passionate about, that actually felt worthwhile. So I had an English teacher who reached out to me and said, would you be interested in making a movie, like an adaptation of a book that we read in class? And we could consider that community service. I'll show it to future classes that are like incoming seniors. I was like, that would be awesome if I could do that. So I wrote a script in a week on this book. Paulo Coelho's The Alchemist. So I have like a deep connection to that book now. I wrote a script in a week. I shot the entire thing in 4, and I edited the entire thing in 1. It came out to being around like 72 minutes long.
Wow.
So I've technically made a feature film.
Wow.
That was very fun too. Like again, working with like the bare bones, like barely even a cast. I had to plan everything, work out everything, make sure that I'm like my cast was also doing capstone as well, because my entire cast is basically my senior class, my friends that are off doing their own thing as well. But I was able to actually create a feature, hopefully that I can put in my portfolio and share with people. And I think it holds up relatively well. I mean, I had a friend work on the coloration with me in the editing process. It was fun.
Yeah, it's on Letterboxd.
It is on Letterboxd.
It's on
Letterboxd. Yeah, it's on Letterboxd. Yeah. Oh, wait.
He's got the receipts.
I got the receipts. I'm going to pull it up. Hold on.
And was it just called The Alchemist?
Just The Alchemist, yeah. I have it on my on my YouTube channel.
Dalkinomo, right?
Not Dalkimomo, no. It's I have another one called 118 Media that I run with my friends Brendan and Gabe back at home. So they do a lot more posting than I do currently, because I mean they've been, they're still in Westford, so they're hanging out there making short films together. Yeah, here it is.
Wow. You could show the camera too.
Here, wait.
Oh yeah, Liam's tracking you. There we are.
There we go.
Yeah.
Just wait for the mic right there.
Yeah.
There you go. The Alchemist. Right there.
There he is, in focus.
Yeah. Directed by Josh Brazinski. Not the same Josh Brazinski that is on all of the QFS productions. I don't know. I don't think people have figured out how to connect
your doppelganger
there. Yeah. Different Josh Brazinski, but
yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, those are some fun facts about me.
Yeah. And now you've talked about, we know how much you love cinema. So what's one thing you love and one thing you strongly dislike? It could just be in general.
Oh, that's a really good question. I feel like I have a very passionate answer to that. Strong thing that I really like about cinema and filmmaking in general, the entire process. If you truly do believe in what you're making, I feel like cinema revolves around truth.
Yeah.
If you truly do believe in what you're making and you believe that it can connect with another person, and this is a universal feeling that a lot of other people do feel, like it's real to you, right? Then I feel like you believe in your script. I feel like that's truth. That's truth in your script. I mean, every script revolves around an idea. I think I quoted Fellini one time in the QFS group chat. I don't remember what it was, but it was something related to why I didn't like the modern state of Marvel or something like that. I was like, every single script revolves around this idea of truth. And if a script doesn't believe that, you as an audience member should be able to tell. Right. I feel like that's actually something that I kind of wanted to bring up related to like AI. I think I brought that up in Fritz's class at one point. Audience members can typically tell when a script is manufactured.
Yeah.
At least if you strongly, I guess if you view life from a much more introspective way.
Yeah.
If you demand more from filmmakers and from big studios, right? If that's what you're looking for in your cinema, you're going to notice when a script feels manufactured.
Yeah.
And doesn't have that element of truth to it. So when you find a script that's just seeping with truth from a filmmaker, like Wim Wenders is a great example, or Richard Linklater, he's another great example. Incredible filmmaker that just writes stories about his own experiences and amplifies that on the screen. When you find a film like that speaks to you and speaks to your truth, that's powerful. That's my favorite part of filmmaking. That's my favorite element of filmmaking. When you find a movie that is able to convey your feelings in a way that you cannot verbalize, that is amazing. I feel like an element of the world of cinema that I don't like and don't appreciate is the business side of it. You know, I feel like, I mean, big budget Hollywood cinema has become so saccharine and devoid of feeling or passion.
Yeah.
It's purely motivated by the business side of things, which I mean is to be expected. You know, the only way that you could be fired as a studio head is if you say yes to something that doesn't make money.
Yeah.
So no one's going to fire you for saying no to something because you don't know how successful that thing could have been. So I feel like a lot of studio heads are just kind of playing it safe in Hollywood at least, which is making me feel like I should stay away from the world of LA. I still want to do QU in LA, but I kind of want to steer clear of the filmmaking world there because I feel like it's become so commercial. There's a big reason why I was talking about Deadpool and Wolverine last night with Harry. I mean, it's like when I watch that movie, I find it difficult to relate to the characters and connect with them. Yeah. Because so much of it feels like, you know, it's fan service. There's a lot of fan service going on. If you're a fan of Marvel, of course you're going to get something out of that. I mean, everyone searches for something different in filmmaking or in watching movies. Everyone does it for a different reason. I'm not trying to make people feel bad for liking the movie. Yeah. But I feel like watching something like Deadpool and Wolverine, it feels like the priorities of the filmmakers are to make money. Yeah. The priorities of the filmmakers are to appeal towards that sort of demographic, without really having any intent behind the inclusion of a lot of these different characters. Yeah. Which, you know, some people can disagree with. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing with that. But I remember a large point that I brought up with Harry is like, you know, you have all this talk about multiverses and all this talk about fan service and joking about it. Like Deadpool is very self-aware about it, but they don't really do anything to necessarily elevate themselves above it. And I think back to like there are still incredible like original ideas in Hollywood still, like you know, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse has fan service in it and is a multiverse film, but it's still a greatly original idea. I feel like in a way acknowledging that and making fun of it without elevating yourself above it, in a way kind of puts a damper on original ideas that actually are being created in the studio system. That are at this point so rare. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. And that kind of brings us back to Shrek because it acknowledges those same things, like the self-awareness of like the world it's in, but it elevates itself above it.
Right, yeah.
So it kind of fulfills that. And I really like thinking back to our AI discussion in that class, like you're thinking about like AI can never really capture the human experience, but there might be a point where it can capture scripts, like where it can analyze scripts that are from the human experience, but I still feel like it'll always miss that personal touch.
Oh, it absolutely will. I mean, AI is just an algorithm. It's an algorithm taking pixels and like I guess the pixel that makes the most sense and putting it together to create an image that doesn't really mean anything, that has no real touch to it, right? It's more of trying to capture the essence of something that pre-exists as opposed to actually capturing the soul and spirit of it. Yeah. And And I feel like, when I'm watching a movie like Deadpool and Wolverine, I'm sorry I keep going back to Deadpool and Wolverine, but I'm bashing on it too much. I'll switch to Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. That'll be easier. when I'm watching a movie like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and I'm like, oh my god, this is totally soulless, and I don't feel any passion coming from the filmmakers whatsoever. It's like, it's probably because like 5 or 6 people were probably involved in writing it, and then you also have all these producers that are involved in the creative ideas of these filmmakers. And then you also have a different director. You got Peyton Reed up there, and of course you have the editor who also is working with the director to craft this final image. When you have all those people that you're going through, and you don't really have a cohesive through line to construct one cohesive idea, things are going to get lost in translation.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get one holistic idea from one creative mind, right? Like Sean Baker. I think a reason why I loved Anora so much is because Sean Baker knew exactly what he wanted. He wrote the screenplay, he directed it, and he edited it. Like, he was involved in every single element of the creative process. But when you have like 20 people involved in one element of the creative process, and your main goal is to appeal to a specific demographic of people, trying to keep them happy while also trying to set up stuff for future installments, right? When you're viewing it from this whole perspective of like, we gotta satisfy the fans, we also need to continue developing the cinematic universe. When you're doing something like that, your reasons become a lot more shallow. Your reasons to create a film become a lot more shallow, and in a way, the script feels more manufactured. Yeah. I feel like if you have 20 people working on one story and that feels manufactured, when you have an AI that's drawing from all of these different scripts from like 200,000 people, you're not going to there's no human touch to that. Yeah. There's no soul, there's no spirit. Yeah. You're not going to be able to, that's going to feel manufactured. Cuz it quite literally is manufactured, like a robot manufactured that. Like, it's not.
There's too many cooks in the kitchen. Right. And it becomes muddled.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's kind of how you have that turnout. And of course, you want to have kind of that Sean Bakery, to be able to control your creative process. So if you don't mind telling us, what are some of your hopes and dreams professionally or in general?
Well, I'm hoping that I can. It's tough to say what my hopes and dreams are. I would love to be an independent filmmaker, just being able to talk about or being able to craft films that I personally feel proud of. There's this musician that I really like, Danny Brown. I've been listening to his music a lot. He's an incredible artist. And he talks about, his experience not really going into the world of commercial music. He's more of an independent artist. He has like 2 million listeners on 2 million monthly listeners on Spotify or something. And I remember he did an interview where he was talking about how unsure he was about the path that he chose to go down in regards to music. He feels very proud about the stuff that he's created, and I think he's an absolutely brilliant, like, professional. Like, he's an absolutely brilliant artist. Like, his music is incredible. Like, he has an album called Atrocity Exhibition that feels like a panic attack. Like, it feels like a panic attack if it was an album. Like, that translated to music, it's crazy. But at the same time, it's not marketable. It's not commercial. Yeah. So when he kind of talks about that, he's like, I could have made so much more money. And there are people in my life that I kind of want to help. I wish I had the opportunity to help. So I guess like the big dream would be able to create something that's both personal and marketable. I mean, Sean Baker did that with Anora. Yeah. Like that would be the big dream. Creating a film that makes money, that connects with people, that it is successful, but at the same time, something that still stays true to you.
Yeah. It's like finding the fine line, that balance between something that's distinctly you, but that can also appeal to an audience.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, going back to, actually, why don't I talk about this here? I feel like a large part of cinema, and I feel like Letterboxd in a weird way kind of amplifies this. I feel like there's an element. I feel like cinema has become a catalyst for consumerism in the modern day that we live in. Like a lot of movies that people end up seeing just kind of become a number. Like, I've had conversations with people on this campus where they say, like I'll watch a short or I'll watch a movie just so I can log something. Yeah. And it's like, at that point you're not connecting with the film. You're not using it as as I said, like a form of meditation, like a way to kind of engage with it and have a better understanding of yourself as an individual, right? You know, I don't watch movies all the time anymore. I'm way too busy for that. So I kind of want to make movies count. So when I watch a movie, it's like I want to connect with it. I want to better understand myself when I watch it.
Yeah.
And kind of having that sort of perspective where you're just like, I'm just going to watch everything that comes out or every single movie that comes out. And in a way, it's like, you know, good for you. Go ahead and do that. But it's like I kind of value my time a little bit more than that. You know, it's not just a number.
Yeah.
A movie's not just a number, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't think that films should be kind of viewed that way. And I feel like a lot of the stuff that's being churned out now in big Hollywood, it just kind of feels like a distraction.
Yeah.
It doesn't really feel like something meant to engage or connect with audiences. It feels like a distraction from what all the horrible stuff that's going on in the world.
Yeah.
You know, instead of commentating on it or helping people find themselves and where they fit into this big world.
Yeah. Reminds me of something Conan O'Brien said at the Oscars, where he made a joke that movies were long form content.
Yeah.
And it's in a way, when you talk about like people making movies a number, it makes it like content, like YouTube short you're scrolling on your phone. Sorry, my friend was making a joke because there's windows over here, so it's just like we become like zoo animals. But yeah, it's like it becomes like long form content, and that's where it takes away that like you said, like the personal element of films, the way that it should speak to you.
And it just becomes something. I know I'm using this word a lot, but it becomes something that is manufactured. Like it's like a product. And I don't think cinema or any form of art should be viewed as a product, right? It's not something to be bought. It's not something like art should not be something that anyone should have to be like rich to enjoy. Yeah. You know, or it's not an element of something that should be consumed. Anyone should be able to relate to and connect with art.
Yes.
You know, to no matter what it may be. But I mean, again, the way that we kind of view the film industry here in America, I mean, so much of it is surrounded by business.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a business. It's an industry.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you know, you got to make a living, but I mean, you can't make a living on just ideas anymore. You got to make a living on you know, selling a story.
And
like
IP
and intellectual property. Yeah. I mean, you know, the world of intellectual properties are so weird because I feel like everyone kind of grew up with one, right? Yeah. But I mean, you can't watch them all. Yeah. Like there's so many of them now. Like you can't watch them all. Like that's just not going to happen. You know what I mean? And that element of consumption. You know, if you don't like something, stop watching it. You know what I mean? Like that I had never understood. I've been talking to Harry about that a lot too. Actually, like we were talking about like the new Snow White movie that just came out. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm dating your podcast right here. It's probably going to come out in the summer. It's March 30th right now. Yes. But like I feel like Snow White, it's like Harry's been talking about like people review bombing that movie. And it's like, you know, drawing attention to this film. It's like, why are people going to see it if you know you're going to hate it? Yeah. Like that I never got. Like Captain America Brave New World, so many people went. It's like, you know, if you've been burned so greatly by the MCU and burned so greatly by these big budget filmmakers, why are you still going to see their stuff? Yeah. Why are you voting with your money? Yeah. You know, I don't get it. Like if you stop demanding more from them and look to people who actually do speak your truth. Yeah. Yeah, and you talk about saying you can't watch them all. You have watched all of your favorite movies. So if you don't mind sharing that with us, and I know you brought them with you. Yeah, I did. I brought a...
Yeah, to steal Liam's joke, you have this answer in the bag.
Yes. Yes, I got the show it off here a little bit. Yeah, there we go. All right. Yeah. Oh, there's a camera up there.
There is a camera up there.
Hi. All right, so we'll just. Yeah. Actually, Ryan, why don't you pick one out?
Oh, okay. This is like it's like Christmas morning.
It's like Christmas morning. Pick one out, and then I'll I get to talk about it.
This will be
fun.
Look.
Yeah.
I won't look to see what I'm taking out. So we have.
All right, Throwdown, Johnny Toe. All right, let's talk about this one. So this is a movie that I first discovered. This is a great thing that I really like about collecting movies as well, because I'm big into physical media. Yeah. I feel like every film, like you say, everyone has a story, right? So it's like every film also has a story, but something that I connect to on a personal level when I purchase one. Like I know exactly where I bought each one and how I found it. But also I remember recall my experiences first watching it. So I discovered this movie it was during a summer, probably last summer, I think. I have a local library near me that I would sometimes go to and just kind of pick movies off the shelf, and this was one that looked kind of interesting, so I decided to pick it up and try it. This is a love letter to judo, and as you know, black belt, so I'm quite familiar with the world of martial arts. And I mean, the great big message here is it's a film that's about, when you get thrown down, sometimes feeling that way of just being like physically thrown down to the ground, that gives you the encouragement and effort to stand back up. Right. And in a way, when you accept, and it's difficult to describe, because I watched this with my friends recently, and they didn't get it as much as I did, where it's like in the way where you become so engrossed in this Zen-like state, where you feel connected to yourself, like again, getting lost in in what you're doing, essentially, like filmmaking, right? Yeah. When you get lost in that, it gives your life meaning. So when you get lost in judo, that gives these people's lives meaning. Also, it's like a love letter to Akira Kurosawa, my number one favorite filmmaker. I love that guy. And also, it's like just one of the coolest damn looking movies I've seen. Like, strongly recommend this one. Interesting. Came out in 2004, year I was born too. So there's that one. There's that too. Now I love Throwdown.
There's so many movies in here. Barry Lyndon. This is like the movie for you.
I love Barry Lyndon. This is just a damn cool movie. When I was younger, I didn't totally get Kubrick. I started with 2001: A Space Odyssey, and I never totally understood his filmmaking style. I was like, this is not for me. But then I watched Barry Lyndon, and I was like, never mind. This guy's an absolute genius. The entire film was made with natural lighting. They didn't have a single lighting setup in this entire film. The entire thing, like interior shots that are shot at night, shot with moonlight and candles. It's crazy. Looks absolutely beautiful. 3-hour-long epic just about a man and his life. Just the most absurd, crazy life you've ever seen. I actually don't remember the first time I watched this. I think I got it out from my library, and I watched it on DVD and just sat down and watched all 3 hours, and I loved it. But last time I watched this, it was on my birthday. My 20th birthday. I invited a ton of friends over. We watched it at 3 a.m. And I don't think they liked it as much as me.
At 3 a.m.
At 3 a.m. It's a 3-hour movie at 3 a.m. I don't think they liked it as much, but
see what I pick up next.
Hell Hundreds of Beavers. I've seen this 4 times. I could watch this over and over and over again. It does not get old. This one's got a tear in it. Uh-oh. How'd that happen? This is a great example of making an incredible movie on a small budget. This had a budget of $200,000. And it's such a creative and interesting film. Just fun, like fun off the wall, like silent film type humor, where it just takes such a creative approach. And it's visually very impressive. Like it has a very distinct style, but it doesn't look cheap. And I feel like, this is a kind of film that reminds me, where it's like, there's still a market for the types of films that I enjoy, that I want to make. Like making something like this that Mike Cheslick did, that would just be absolutely incredible. If you haven't seen Hundreds of Beavers, I recommend you watch it. It's great. You can probably find it on Tubi.
And then
that's an interesting one.
It's an interesting one.
Love Exposure, yeah. Check out that box.
Yeah.
That's a bit of an interesting one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love Exposure. I first watched this, I think I found it on YouTube, actually. I just got into Japanese cinema for a bit. I was just like, I'm gonna go down this rabbit hole. This is 4 hours. I've seen it 2 times. It is amazing. Sion Sono directed this, and it's a very masterful commentary. I mean, Sion Sono is a weird guy. I don't really like him, but this is a masterful commentary on how sex relates to religion, and at what point does like a religion become a cult? Like it's crazy, like making that leap where it's like all of these things related to each other. It's like, what the hell? I've never seen anything like it. Absolutely incredible film. I think this one's...
Yeah, it's funny. I held that cover up, and there's the TV right outside the studio plays this footage, too.
Oh, does it?
So I'm right in front of the whole building.
Yeah. Hey, guys, look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that. Yeah. Hey, yo. They're probably going to be confused walking by that.
Now we have.
Oh my God. Oh, I love this movie. I mean, obviously, I guess I packed all. I don't know why I'm reacting like I haven't seen what's in there. Like I know it's in the bag, but
You're like, damn, whoever's bag this has got good taste.
yeah, absolutely, right? Yeah, this guy's great. Waking Life. I first saw this. I took it out from the library here. I took
really?
it out from the McMahon Center. This is one that I had always wanted to see. Richard Linklater directed this.
Really?
It is a animated movie, but it was shot first in live action, then all of it was rotoscope animation over. So it's basically like if a film was a dream. It overwhelms you with information and overwhelms you with, in a way, philosophy. It's a film that doesn't really have a plot, but you're just watching it and you're kind of going from like moment to moment where you're just kind of listening to things that sound familiar. It's like facets of life, and like differing perspectives that people have, and you're just kind of being overwhelmed by it. It's like it all sounds familiar, but none of it really makes sense. And trying to follow it, you're like, God, what does this mean? What does any of this mean? And in a way, like you can kind of put your own meaning to it, I guess. That's what makes this movie so cool. Akira Kurosawa's Dreams is also very similar to that too, where it's like you get to provide your own meaning to what you're witnessing on screen. And I love films that are kind of open to interpretation like that.
Yeah.
I've never seen a film that looks like this either.
Yeah, and overall, Josh, these were incredible, and this whole episode was cinema.
It was cinema, yes. Absolute cinema.
I did the emote wrong.
Yeah.
No, like this.
Like this, yeah. Sorry, I feel like I rambled a lot. I mean, I'm my mind just goes like a mile a minute sometimes, you know. It just, sometimes the words just come out.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it was great because it shows your passion and it shows how much you care and how many thoughts you have, which is important. And I like to ask, like, do you have any motivational words or plugs or anything you'd like to leave the audience with before you go?
I'm looking forward to a good next year for QFS. You know, I'm hoping that people come back and are able to, and maybe not able to, but hopefully feel like they can share their perspectives on filmmaking.
Yeah.
You know, like you say, everyone has a story.
Yes.
And I think everyone should express theirs. Everyone should share their perspective because, you know, I think that's the best way we can understand each other as individuals and as people. If you share what makes you you, then it'll help not only yourself feel seen, but others feel seen too.
Yeah. Because film is also bringing back to the real life fantasy. It's also empathy.
Yes.
And I think that's a great way to put it. And overall, Josh, it's always amazing hearing you speak in general, but about movies because all the passion always comes out. You're always very inquisitive and how much you care about movies, how educated you are on film and film history. I feel like it's something the industry very much needs. It very much needs that scope of knowledge, especially as you bring up with Hollywood and how a lot of big films can feel like there's not enough humanity put into it. It's important to always remember why cinema is so important and why it means so much to so many people. So thank you so much for coming on here and sharing it, Josh.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Good luck editing this down. I know I rambled like a ton, so it's it's all out there. But I appreciate you having me.
Of course.
Seriously.
And I appreciate you being here. And as always, this is Ryan Zicast with the Zicast, where everyone has a story. Signing off. Thank you so much for watching.